Noshi.
Hello.
I'm Zeb Ramsbotham.
And I'm Amy Ramsbotham.
And we're the Rambling Ramsbothams.
Our journey might be rambling, but we hope this podcast isn't. And even though that is still the Japanese intro, which maybe we need to change that, we are in an airport right now, and we're not going to Japan.
We're going to Norway.
Yeah. We're back, kind of.
I guess a little bit. So we're recording, I guess, like one of our field trip episodes because we were feeling inspired since we're going on a little vacation.
I can't wait.
So we're not going over there to live or anything. But yeah, we're just going to go over to Norway. Also,
well, you missed the whole big part. We're meeting family in Norway.
Yeah, I
so
guess
it's not just
part.
us.
Yeah, at least for the beginning.
Yeah.
And then we'll be going on to Denmark, and then Sweden, and then back home.
Yeah, so this is a Christmas, So this is like a mini Christmas abroad trip, but this is actually Zeb's 7th Christmas abroad, my 6th Christmas abroad, but the first one that we can be abroad for Christmas with family, so that's kind of special. So it'll be my parents, all 4 of my younger sisters, and my brother-in-law. So and Zeb.
And me. I'm just along for the ride.
Full house. So
it's
the
kind of
first
nice.
time,
I was telling Annie that I have like no expectations for this trip because sometimes, you know, like when you've been planning a vacation for a long time or you really have wanted to go somewhere for a long time, you kind of bundle up all these like feelings and then like you hope everything goes like perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice like going on a trip and I literally have no wishes, no expectations.
Yeah, on the drive to the airport this morning, we had to get like an Uber driver because it was a super early flight. And she asked us, I guess, just to kind of make conversation, like, oh, wow, Norway, is this kind of the trip of a lifetime for you guys? And it felt really privileged, but we were kind of like, no, isn't it nice that we've been to Europe before, I guess, for Christmas?
And I've even been to Bergen before.
Oh, yeah, we're going to Bergen. Zeb's been there before. I've never been to Norway at all, but why were you in Bergen?
So it was when I finished undergrad in 2014, which your youngest sisters thought was really funny.
Yeah.
They were like, wait, you were done with college in 2014? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, because Zeb's old.
Yeah, and they were like, oh. They're like, wow, he's old. I guess they hadn't really realized it.
Yeah.
But I went on a 6-month backpacking trip in Europe.
And you did work away?
I did some workaways, but for part of that, I had a friend, Anna, come over, and she met me in Iceland. And then we flew to Norway, where we met a friend, Cynthia. And then we did a hike that was from like the highest railway station in continental Europe, I guess maybe just Europe, and we hiked down to Bergen.
Which we actually are going to do that backwards on a train.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. You're probably excited because you don't have to walk all that.
I'm excited, and also, I mean, it was like, not that I was like a different person last time, but it was like,
kind of.
10 years ago.
Yeah,
So it was a very long time ago. So I don't really remember, like I kind of remember the view and seeing the fjord, but it's long enough ago that it's not like I feel like I was just there kind of deal.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, me at 18 was a pretty different person, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, update since the last time that we got to talk to you guys. It was October 6th, I think, and right now it's December 23rd. And so it's been a little while. And we got all our boxes back from Japan, which was the first, really, it feels like a miracle. But they got shipped over on the boats and made it. And then also, things have pretty much recovered from Helene generally in Henderson County, where we are. Asheville is going to take a while, but that's nice that things are starting to feel back to normal with that. The most exciting thing is that we bought a house in the Hendersonville area.
Yeah, if you've been a long time dedicated listener.
Wow, what are you about to say?
You might remember in one episode we were specifically talking about like moving to the Netherlands and what that would entail. We mentioned it was basically a huge risk where we would be spending what we had been saving for the down payment on a house to try and make life abroad work again. And so we ultimately, we discussed this in the last episode, but basically we decided not
to do the down payment.
Take that risk, and so we got a house instead.
Yeah, it's also a scary thing, but in a different way. And
but it feels a little safer because we're close to family, we're enjoying what we're doing.
Don't have to worry about a visa.
Yeah.
And it is really nice to be back with family.
And just kind of like back in a community that we were a part of before we left. And now it's kind of like, it did feel like coming home.
Yeah, I've
But
been
I think
able
we
to
mentioned that kind of last time.
ride my mountain bike a lot. But yeah, we're not here to talk about that. We're doing a field trip episode. So this will be hopefully not too scattered, but a little bit scattered, as if you've heard our other field trip episodes, we'll like drop in real time during the trip instead of doing a sit down recap of the whole thing. So hopefully you'll be able to hear some sounds of Norway, and then later when we go, we're going to be taking a ferry to Copenhagen, Denmark, and then taking the train over to Sweden.
Malmo in Sweden.
Yeah.
And then up to Gothenburg for New Year's.
Yeah, we're not going to see the capital in Sweden, but we'll still see two other cool cities. And then we're flying out of Gothenburg because honestly it was the cheapest option, but it also seems like a cool city. So yeah. I'm excited. This is the 7th Christmas away that you've done, 6 that I've done, like we mentioned before.
Yeah, so 6 of ours will have been together. I just kind of have the one that's... So we had to quickly relocate.
Hopefully the audio is not too crazy with this.
So what we're going to talk about is that this is going to be our combined 6th Christmas abroad.
Luckily we get to go abroad again.
Over to Norway.
To be honest, this is partially because of the flight credits that we had from canceling our flight that was planned to the Netherlands to move there. Mm-hmm. And I kind of was joking with my mom about how it would be fun. Like, why don't we just all go somewhere for Christmas? And she was like, okay, yeah. And I was like, oh, I didn't think you would be interested in that. So sweet. So that's what we're doing. So actually, we're waiting on the flight now because we have the layover. The next layover is in Amsterdam. And we're actually going to meet our family in Amsterdam. And fingers crossed everything goes smoothly. We'll go with them from Amsterdam to Bergen.
Yep.
So here we go.
Here we go.
Dear passengers, welcome to Bergen. Please remain seated. You may now switch on your phone and other devices. As soon as the fasten seatbelt sign is switched off, you may collect your belongings from the luggage bins.
Where are we?
We're in Bergen, in Norway.
Yeah, we made it. We're on the light rail just outside the airport, and we're headed to Bergen Central Station.
Now we're walking to our Airbnb.
And my whole family is on the train with us, and we really made it.
Here we are, on a boat.
Yeah, so we didn't really do a very good job of doing like in-time recordings during the trip so far, so we're going to catch you up, but we're halfway done with the trip now, and we're currently on a boat, an overnight boat, to Copenhagen from Oslo.
Yeah, and we didn't do like a lot of, I think, in-person recordings because, I mean, we're with your family,
yeah,
and we didn't really want to distract from the experience.
It was fun to just be present. And also, now we're on this boat, and I'm a little scared of boat travel, and it was really smooth getting out of Oslo and through that, I don't know, I guess you were just kind of in this channel for a while. And now I think we have like some more open water on one side, so it's getting a lot rockier.
It's also, it's really windy outside, so occasionally in the background you might hear the crashing of waves, because our cabin is like at the front of the boat, and we're not on a very high deck, so I guess the waves are occasionally hitting the side of the boat.
Yeah, don't love it.
But it is a very big boat.
Yeah, it's
10 whole floors.
11 if you include the
11,
half
sorry.
deck that you can go up on.
Yeah.
So I am impressed by the ferry. We didn't pay for the buffet dinner or anything. We just brought some food on board, but they have bars and like 4 restaurants on here.
Yeah, there's a nightclub. There's the Bubble Zone.
For kids. We went over there and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, there's a conference room if you're doing business on the ferry.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But anyway.
Yeah, so back to the last time we talked, which probably was when we had just arrived in Bergen. And we were getting onto the tram with the family. It was a really close connection after the airplane, but we did make it, which was great. And then we all reunited. It was really fun. We got an Airbnb in the city. It was walkable to almost everything. It was perfect. And I had a kitchen, and so we could have breakfast and really settle in, and there was a living room area we could all watch movies in. But Christmas Eve dinner, we went out to a restaurant, and it was a really cozy space, and everybody just got what they wanted to eat, and we spent a couple hours in there just hanging out and enjoying Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it was almost comically dark in that restaurant.
Yeah, my dad had to get a flashlight out to read the menu.
Yeah, but it was a fun experience, and it was, yeah, the food was really good. And
yeah, and if that wasn't enough, then we had another great dinner. Actually, it was lunch.
It was a lunch.
The next day.
It just felt like a dinner.
It did.
Because one thing is we're here, you know, it's very late December, so we're pretty close to the shortest day of the year. So the sun is rising around 9:30 to 9:40, and then it's setting close to 3:30. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it just, and the sun never really gets too high in the sky, so you kind of have this feeling that it's like
it's always
dusk.
Evening.
Yeah, like all day. So even though it was a lunch,
it looked like dinner. Like we came out of the lunch and there was a stunning sunset, but it was 3:30 and the sun was like lighting up the sky.
But it was I think typically what the waitress was saying, what they have for Christmas, like a Christmas meal in Norway.
Yeah.
So it was a fun experience.
It was a 3-course meal. So we went up, we took the Fløibanen, which I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but it's this funicular, which I think is just a fancy name for the tram that goes vertical. Or like just not vertical, but you know, it goes very steeply up the side of the mountain. Mm-hmm. So you get on that and you ride it up to the top of Mount Fløyen in Bergen. There's a great view of the harbor because we were high enough that we had a view, but not so high that we were up in the clouds.
Yeah.
And the 3-course meal started with seafood soup, and then there was lamb and potatoes and like cauliflower mixed with carrots and a puree maybe. Mm-hmm. And then for dinner, it was this vanilla mousse on a cookie with cloudberries.
And for dessert.
Oh, what did I say?
Dinner.
Oh, yeah, that was the only thing that mattered.
The whole dinner was just the mousse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all really good, and it was nice to try kind of, I guess, the traditional meal.
Yeah, I had never had cloudberries. They're yellow, which I didn't expect. And they also, I was picturing them being like really soft and pillowy, like clouds. But they were like, if you took a raspberry, or a blackberry, but you made the seeds like twice as big. I just felt like they were mostly seeds.
I guess so. I thought they were really good.
Yeah. I'm not to hate on the cloudberry. I guess I just was picturing it being much more cloud-like.
Yeah. But then after dinner, we had a really nice walk. Mm-hmm. But before the walk, we got to see the finish for the 2017 Men's World Championship Time Trial.
Oh, yeah.
Won by Tom Dumoulin.
Nobody but Zeb noticed that.
Yeah, there's like one other elderly guy that noticed it. But there was just like a little plaque on the floor.
I was going to say, we didn't see the finish. We just saw the plaque notifying this finish.
It was a great race.
Yeah.
But then we kind of walked around in a really nice, like, lush, mossy area. Mm-hmm.
This thing running in the water? Yeah. That is really nice sounding. It is. And it's trying to record some audio.
That's the mossy park on top of Mount Fløyen. We just had a really nice lunch, and this park behind the restaurant has all these playground things that are built around the trees, and it's covered in moss, and it's really beautiful and peaceful. Although it's 4 o'clock right now, and it's dark already. The sun set at 3:30, so the street lights came on because it's totally dark at 4 o'clock up here.
And that might be some of my favorite nature. Mm-hmm. Everyone likes to make fun of, Japan has really great moss.
They do have really great moss.
But I really think Norway is
rivaled.
Like the moss king.
Oh,
also,
really?
Iceland has really good moss.
I've never been to Iceland, so I don't know.
There's some like lava fields there that are mossy, and you can lay on them.
It must be something about volcanoes and moss.
Or I think it's just the weather, maybe sunlight too,
Yeah.
A lot of moisture in the air. But the moss was fantastic. They were really nice, kind of like rocky outcrops.
And there was also a really cool playground that was built. It was a playground, but it was more like a grove of trees, and they had built elements that you could walk from tree to tree. And you could walk on these bridges and this little, what do you call the sliding thing on a tightrope?
Zip line.
Yeah.
There was an unsupervised zip line, and we only saw one child get injured. As we were walking up, there was a family walking away, and a poor child in tears.
Yeah, but it was mostly everyone had a good time.
I think so.
And then I think that was the same night that we actually went to that stave church too. Because we went back to the hotel, or to the Airbnb.
Yeah,
and then
kind of regathered ourselves.
Yeah,
and
in
then
the
we went
evening,
to the stave church.
We took a tram and a little walk.
So we're walking down a gravel path near Fantoft, outside Bergen, going to a stave church.
Yeah, it's one of the churches in Norway where I think they're built without nails.
No nails. All wood.
It feels like it's the middle of the night because it's that dark, but it's only 5:15, and it was a very easy, like, tram ride, I think, for maybe 20 minutes.
The light rail?
Yeah, out of Bergen, and then we got off at the very easily named Fantoft stop.
Yeah, now we're in the dark, but we can see the church lit up just ahead.
Yeah, hopefully we're going the right way, but...
Oh, someone just got a flashlight on. Yeah, it's really interesting. Unfortunately, we couldn't go in. I think this one you actually can enter if you buy a ticket, but we were there, of course, pretty late in the evening.
Also seasonally, so they just weren't open in the winter. I think September is the latest.
Okay. Well, we just saw the exterior. It was very nice.
Yeah.
It was fun to visit.
It was nice. And then we got back and we were not really hungry because we had that great lunch, so we just ate a bunch of like a cheese board kind of thing for dinner. And one interesting thing that they had was this, it was called Jule something. Jule is like, it comes from the word Yule, like Yuletide, and people would say God Yule, which that probably is not pronounced right either, but that means like Merry Christmas basically in Norwegian. But Jule was on everything. Like Julebrus were these like Christmas sodas, and we got a bunch of those. And there was this Jule something cheese, and it was a brown block of cheese. And when you smell it, it smells like cinnamon is in the cheese.
Yeah, and it kind of had the texture of Velveeta.
Yeah.
Like a Velveeta cheese. It was not... It didn't appear to be a very natural cheese product.
No.
It seemed highly processed. I didn't think it tasted that bad. It was kind of like a sweeter cheese. Annie, I think, was not
I did
a fan.
not love it. It was very polarizing. My dad was like, oh, this is great cheese. And it was like spiced. It was almost like you said sweet cheese.
Yeah.
And brown. But yeah, my sister took a bite and was like, absolutely not.
Yeah. It was the kind of thing that I was enjoying up to a point, but then it like hit. And I even noticed that too with like the Christmas sodas. I enjoyed it to a point. Like
it's too much spice.
No, because the Christmas soda was very like almost bubblegum. Like it was very fruit berry flavored. And it was nice for a few sips, but it was hard to imagine drinking an entire bottle of Christmas soda.
Speaking of drinks, we did not find out until we were trying to buy some beers to have with dinner. You're not allowed to buy alcohol after 6 p.m. I think it's 8 p.m. on the weekends, but Monday through Friday, 6 p.m., you can't buy any beer.
So when you get off work, you gotta go straight to the store.
Yeah, we didn't know that. We messed it up twice.
Yeah, well, once we messed it up because we didn't quite realize that wine you have to get in a liquor store. You can't just buy it in a grocery store.
Yeah, so we went into a grocery store thinking we were clever because it was like 5:45, and we were like, oh, good, we'll get some wine. And we were like, where's the wine? And this poor lady was like, oh, you must not be Norwegian. And we were like, no, obviously. I mean, look at us. And she was like, it's so embarrassing. I'm sorry. And we were like, it's fine. But she was like, yeah, you just can't get any.
Yeah, you gotta go to the ABC store. And then she like checked her watch, and it was like almost 6.
Yeah.
And she was like, best just to get the beer then.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh. But it was, I mean, it's interesting because you can get like a Radler after 6 p.m., which is like 2.5%.
Yeah, you can.
Which is kind of.
Yeah, it's weird. You could technically get drunk still if that's what they're worried about.
Or you can just go to a bar. You can go to a restaurant and still order alcohol.
You just can't buy it to take it home.
Which is interesting, and I don't like. I guess we would need to one day. We don't have cell service or anything, so one day we'll have to look it up and try and figure out.
Yeah, because did I mention we're on a boat right now? I'm trying not to listen to the waves out there. But this is nice. This is distracting me.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the drinking age is 18, so it's like so much less regulated, but also so much more regulated than the US, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, the next day was, I guess, Boxing Day, which our waiter at the Christmas dinner, she didn't know what Boxing Day was. And to be fair, I didn't know
Yeah,
until,
it's not something we do in America. It's a UK, like, thing.
I guess, because I
like
thought
England.
it was European, and she was like,
No.
I've never heard of Boxing Day.
I think some other European countries, I think, kind of do have it, and I think it's also connected to some other day, like St. John's Day or something. There's some other day that slides into the holidays.
Okay.
I was trying to read about it on Wikipedia the other day, but she didn't know what it was, and we honestly don't know what it is.
Yeah.
We just know the
It's a
day
day
after
off.
Christmas is often called Boxing Day. So,
But yeah, we went on a fjord cruise on Boxing Day.
which was really nice.
That might have been one of my favorite parts of the trip.
Yeah.
Well, it was 3 hours, so it was like the perfect amount of time to be on a boat. And it was really smooth sailing, but mostly it was beautiful. So we took the boat out of Bergen, and then we turned north and went up this, I guess the water is called a fjord. I kind of thought it was like,
I thought it was the geographic, like, area is called a fjord. It's like a landscape, but we'll have to research that too.
yeah.
But it was very
so-
nice, and I think this kind of goes back to kind of what I was saying earlier, that there's something about Norway's weather that is just, the weather plus the landscape is very fitting, and it's like very attractive, and I don't know what it is about it, but I really like the trees and the moss and the rocks, and there were also some waterfalls, and the fact it was kind of misty and rainy, it felt very quintessentially Nordic.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, and I think that's also why I like snowshoe in West Virginia so much in the United States, because snowshoe kind of has, especially when you're up at the ski resort, it has a similar
'cause it's misty and mossy and chilly.
yeah, it has like a similar biodiversity, like
Yeah.
the landscape and then the moss and the trees,
Yeah.
and also kind of the top of Beach Mountain and
Yeah.
even the top of Mount Mitchell.
some alpine.
Yeah, kind of like once you're getting into that territory.
It's a
and-
hot take, but I understand that.
Well, I just really like, for me, that's kind of, I just really like that setting.
It was really cool. You could see all the little houses built onto the I guess they weren't cliffs, but onto the rocky coast as we were
Yeah.
going out to the more narrow part of the fjord. And then there were tons of waterfalls just coming off the cliffs as we got deeper, and the boat would slow down whenever we were going through a pretty place, which was really nice too. And you could get out you could always get onto the top deck, but then the boat would slow down through really scenic spots, and you could get out onto the front deck and take pictures, and that was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
And it was,
It was called Mostrom, and I don't know if that's the destination or what, but we went up to the town of Mo on a map, and I think right before that, the fjord kind of narrator over the intercom was saying, like, this is where the glacier used to, where it ended before, and now you can go farther.
yeah, because so often, I only know this because I took that mountain geography class, often when glaciers are retreating, they leave behind like gravel and like boulders and stuff. So often as they're melting, there would be a spot where they deposit a bunch of gravel and it builds like a little dam.
Oh.
And then as the glacier continues to melt, it fills up behind
It's interesting.
that, like, I think it's called a moraine, maybe, Moraine,
Yeah.
possibly. And then apparently there's a flood and it like blew out that gravel dam. And so now it's all connected.
Well, we floated past a lovely little island with some sheep running around on
was
it.
Quintessentially
That was Zeb's favorite part.
Norwegian. Felt very good.
Yeah, and we just got out to this place, and it was interesting that they would have these little asides over the intercom in Norwegian and in English, which was helpful. Because then you would get to these places, and they're like, oh, and look over to your right, and here's where we used to have a textile mill, and they used to make all the underwear for the people in town, and here's on their left the old school, and it was right on the cliff because it was common for kids to take a boat to school, and it was just kind of cool to
There was a
hear
lot
about
of
stuff.
rowing around, a lot of boating.
Yeah, I don't think I have any Norwegian blood because none of this boat stuff is comfortable.
Just regular land person.
Yeah.
So it's a rainy day, and it's a boat in the harbor. But we did a fjord tour this morning on a boat, and now we're walking through a rainy Bergen, I guess, nice little city street. It's very historic, some buildings, and there are all kinds of different colors. It's very pretty. We have some 7-Eleven coffee, kind of like we are still in Japan, but a different kind of coziness. And it'd be perfect if it was a little less drizzly, but it's very Norwegian weather, or what I imagine Norwegian
adds-
weather is.
The rain adds to the atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's not raining so hard that we need an umbrella.
Yeah. And we got married on a rainy day, so it's
Yeah, because it was
yeah,
good luck.
It's cozy, reminiscent of good times. So here we are.
It's very pretty. Do you like Bergen so far?
Yeah, I do. It's very cozy. I like that everybody has these yellow string lights, almost like fairy lights.
Yeah, they don't use colored Christmas lights. They're all white or
At least
yellow.
not in the street. But it seems like there's some kind of agreement that everybody has like a paper star, like one of those big lit up paper stars with the holes in it.
Yeah.
And the light, and then a bunch of little string lights.
Yeah, it's nice.
The last thing that we did in Bergen was we went to the biggest gingerbread city in the world. I don't know how you become that, but
Yeah. And it was for a good cause.
so the
It was
tickets,
charity.
yeah, the tickets all went towards charity, which is nice. But you go in and people had made gingerbread houses, and then they had arranged them in this huge gingerbread city, and it was nice to walk around. They had
Some
it lit
of them
up.
were very cool. There was some kind of offensive lighting and some hot, breathy air in a tight space
It was a little
with a lot
crowded.
of people. But it was cool to see.
Yeah.
And
I liked it
yeah.
Women's Ebb, I think. And
but
then
the whole like Bergen experience was very nice.
Yeah.
I think overall, I'd been to Bergen before, but kind of like in a temporary pass through, and yeah,
Yeah.
it was very like, I wouldn't say like quaint, because sometimes I feel like that's kind of an offensive word.
Yeah,
To be like,
like, oh, what a cute little dumb city you
yeah,
have.
cute place. But it did feel very, I don't know, like it's what I
It felt
expected out of
walkable.
Norway.
yeah.
And it was like very beautiful. And we also went to that UNESCO heritage site with the little like harbor front stores. And it is interesting in Norway they seem to kind of have this national color palette, which is like a red, a very navy blue, almost black, like a mustard yellow, and then sometimes they'll throw in like a dark green
Yeah.
or just white.
Yeah.
But it's very pretty.
I know.
It's very nice, and they kind of all go well
It
together.
does seem like it's like a uniform because we see it in every little town we pass through. There's always that kind of
Yeah.
like color vibe.
And
I like
then
it a lot.
Yeah. And then the train ride that we woke up for. and
Yeah.
The train we got on the next day.
So to get out of Bergen, we took that train ride.
And we saw so many houses that kind of fit the stereotypical like color palette. We even saw some that had the grass on the roof.
Yeah, the sod roofs.
No sheep though.
we
Didn't
were
see any
going
sheep.
kind of fast to see sheep, I guess.
That's true. We saw some cows. Actually, I think I saw sheep once. Actually.
Well, so this train ride, actually, I don't know what it's called. It's just the Bergen to Oslo line.
Yeah, I think it did have a name, but on the side of the train it just says Bergen-Oslo Bergen.
Because I guess that's the route they do
That's
there
what they
and
do.
back and there.
Which I
again.
wonder why it's not Oslo Bergen-Oslo.
Well, when we got to Oslo, they took it back to Bergen after.
Yeah, but don't you think?
Oh, an intercom. Anyway, we're doing fine. So the Bergen-Oslo Bergen train is supposed to be one of the prettiest routes, and we've only taken it from Bergen to Oslo, of course, but we saw so many pretty things. I expected it to be pretty, and it still impressed me.
Yeah, I would agree because it's largely rural. Like you're mostly going through the mountains.
Especially the first half, the direction we took it.
Yeah, especially the first half. You're like mostly in the mountains, so it's kind of this like tundra, alpine, like beautiful mountain and like river landscape. And then occasionally you would pull through these little towns that are, very beautiful. And so yeah, I think overall it was just a really nice train journey.
Yeah, the whole time we were leaving Bergen, we were climbing into I don't know if they call it a national park or national forest like we do in America, but it was like a natural preserved land. We were climbing into that, and we would make little stops in different towns, I guess, in and out of the natural area. But once we got to Finns, it's the highest town in the country. It's definitely the highest town in Norway.
I think it's the highest railway stop
Oh, that's what it is.
in Europe.
Okay, that's what it is. So it was at 1,200 meters, which I think
Yeah.
is like 3,600 feet.
That's probably a little over. It's like 3,800
Yeah.
feet.
And I
something
did
like that.
read, I need to, once I get service again, I need to like verify this, but I think that you can only get there by train.
I think
like,
so.
I don't think you can drive a car.
Probably hike.
And you can take a snowmobile.
I actually know you can hike because I've hiked.
Yeah, Zeb
So-
hiked from there down to Bergen.
That's one of the few things I did in Norway when I first visited, is I took a train to that town and then we hiked down to Bergen. So I definitely have a soft spot for that town. I also, if I remember correctly, and I told everyone this, so hopefully it's still accurate, it's where they filmed Hoth.
Oh yeah, from Star Wars. It does look like it, especially when before we got to Fence, we were like very close to this river for a long time, which was cool to be right next to the river. And sometimes the river would be either there was snow on it or there was ice over it, so it would like go under a bunch of ice for a while, and then you could see the moving water again.
Yeah.
And there would just be these huge expanses of just white out the windows. It was so cool. And then there'd be a house randomly, like in the middle of the white. No road, no tracks. And either they have snowmobiles or they walk, or it's a holiday house. Yes. Yeah, they probably don't just stroll up there. But yeah, it might be a seasonal home. But it was just so interesting to see these random little cottages. And then we got to Fence, and people were pulling up to the train station on snowmobiles to like pick people up.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
It was very, yeah.
And then we dipped back down into Oslo, and we're back in like just a regular European capital city vibe.
Yeah,
again.
which Annie and I discussed, and maybe this is my hot take, is a lot of European capital cities of countries are a little underwhelming.
I mean, I don't think many people would disagree. I mean, I think capital cities of anywhere.
Notable exceptions. So we talked about like Amsterdam, pretty big exception. Feels like there's a lot of character there. And I know that like, yeah, it's just a hot take.
We liked Ljubljana in
we liked Ljubljana.
Slovenia. There's a lot of capitals that I like. There's also a lot like I didn't love Brussels, but that might have been because it was like raining and we had to go get COVID tests. And like I didn't like Paris, but I need to give it another chance because we only had like one stressful layover there. So maybe we're just being like annoying right now.
Maybe.
But we do tend to like the smaller cities just because I think most people would agree with that. Like you can breathe more and you can walk to things more.
Well, I wouldn't say most people would agree with that.
Oh.
Because I think that there are people that do like the kind of like hectic nature of a big capital city.
Yeah,
and there's
if you
like
like
tons
city
to do.
life.
There's a lot of shopping.
That makes sense.
There's like naturally resources and cultures kind of mesh together in big capital cities, so there's a lot of variety.
Yeah, things are always open.
Yeah, things are always open.
Yeah, I shouldn't say everyone likes that, because sometimes it is annoying when you get to a small city and it's cute and it's like there's lots of pretty things, but then it's like, oh, everything closed at 5 and I can't get around via public transportation.
Yeah, so I definitely see the appeal, but maybe that's what I'm saying. Like for me, like Bergen in Norway was definitely like the highlight. Like I really liked Bergen, and then Oslo was still enjoyable.
Yeah.
But it didn't help that it rained a lot. So we tried to go to a Christmas market our first night in Oslo. And
yeah, I was a little bummed about the rain. And then, because it was like right around freezing, so it was still just rain. So we were just wet and cold instead of it being like, oh, snow.
yeah.
But the Christmas market, oh, did you hear that one? That was a scary crash. The Christmas market was, I guess I had higher hopes for it because it seems so quaint, but I should have known better because they are famously overpriced.
We've kind of been burned by a Christmas market in the past.
We accidentally paid like $25 for a hot chocolate, for like a mug of hot chocolate that had vodka in it or something. We're like, ooh, like spiked hot chocolate, how fun. And they were like, great, $20. We were like, what? But I mean, I think it also, you pay for the atmosphere, so I can't get that upset about it. Like, you would never pay that much for hot chocolate just at a shop. You go to the Christmas market to kind of take it in, and
for the experience.
It's free to enter, and then you kind of pay for it with the food.
It was just the experience was wet. Cold.
Although the fries we got at this one in Oslo were really good.
They were really good French fries.
Yeah, they were $18 each.
Very expensive.
But they were very
tasty.
good. I would do that again, though.
But then we had a very nice, cozy morning in with your family.
Well, even the whole night, the whole time in Oslo, we didn't really do very much Oslo stuff, but I had a really good time with my family.
Plus, your dinner was really cozy.
We just cooked food in the Airbnb.
Yeah, and then the next morning, you and your sister and mom went to go.
Yeah, we bought some stuff
breakfast up
to cook breakfast. And
yeah, that was
Mom
like very
made
cozy and quaint.
Like a, what do you call it?
Like an
omelet frittata thing. Yeah. And eggs and toast, and it was nice because it's kind of hard to find a restaurant, especially when you don't have a reservation. It's hard to find a restaurant for 9 people.
Yeah, we were traveling 9 people, which I don't know if we've said that at any point in the podcast.
No, so it's hectic, but it was also really nice because this is the first time. So I've got 4 younger sisters, and then my parents, and then my next youngest sister has a husband too. So yeah, both the husbands, all the sisters, and the parents. 9 people.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was fun, though.
Yeah.
That was the first time. What I was trying to say, I guess, is that was the first time all 9 of us had been together for Christmas.
It was funny when I was like explaining this trip to coworkers, you know, before I was leaving, and I was saying like, oh, I'm going to, you know, Norway with my wife's family. A few of them were like, oh, your wife's family is Norwegian, and you're like meeting family in Norway.
Yeah.
I was like, no, we're
just flying
not
to Norway.
Norwegian. We're just all meeting in Norway. And they were like, why? I was like,
because it's fun.
yeah. But
It was
it's been
a good
really
time.
nice. Yeah, so that kind of is like a recap, I guess, of Norway experience.
Yeah.
And now we're heading to Denmark.
Yeah. It's 7:30 p.m. now. I wish it was later. But we're going to sleep soon and then wake up in Copenhagen. Not until 10 a.m., but it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Scary. But so far it's been fine on the boat. I've been good so far.
Yeah, you're doing all right. A little anxious, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
At medbringe boardingkort og gyldig billed-ID i land, da disse skal fremvises, når de går ombord. Ladies and gentlemen, please note that all passengers are requested to leave the ship by 10:30 a.m. at the latest. You can come aboard the ship again from 11 a.m. Please remember to take your boarding card and valid photo ID ashore, as these will need to be shown on embarkation.
Hello.
Hello?
So we made it off the boat. Thank goodness. I barely survived. Not really, but it did get much rougher.
Not really.
I like trains more. It got super rough.
I think that you will give people negative images of boat travel.
So be it. I was not prepared. But to counter that, you had no problems and no issues and fell asleep like a baby, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think I did really well on the boat. Proud of myself. It wasn't the most comfortable sleep I've ever had, and I did get woken up once in the middle of the night just due to boat noise,
noises.
I guess. Just
The sloshing and the
standard boat
slamming.
noise. No, mine was when the rocking stopped.
It did.
And it woke me up, I think, because we were no longer rocking, and then there was like some kind of engine noise that woke me up. And so that was like a little unnerving to wake up in the middle of the night and then not really know what's going on. But other than that, I think it was a great experience. One, it was super affordable compared to like a standard hotel price.
I think it was like $150 total.
Yeah, it was. So admittedly, it was like an expensive hotel, but
that's hotel
it included travel
and transportation and a honestly very good buffet breakfast.
Yeah, the breakfast was really good. It was very redeeming, and it was just a neat experience.
It was nice to wake up and there we were pulling into Copenhagen harbor. But so this morning we were eating pastries on a bench, and I was wondering if we were eating danishes in Denmark. You know, like what's a Danish? And I've just always called it like, I just never really thought about a Danish being the word for a person from Denmark. Is that right? And also a pastry.
Well, it's the name for the language.
Oh yeah,
So
that's right.
a person from
A Dane,
Denmark,
they're a Dane.
Dane speaks Danish,
So anyway, we
but
call
they are
them,
not a Danish.
So we call them Danish pastries or danishes, but they call them Wienerbrod or Viennese bread, like from Vienna, Austria.
Interesting.
And guess what people in Vienna call them? Copenhageners, like Copenhagen people. So
Well, it's
the
funny
origin
that
of
the
these
people.
laminated crispy pastries is unclear. It's said
Well,
to
it's
be
funny that like the people in Denmark are like, no, these are from somewhere else. But then there are 2 other countries that are like, no, these are from your country.
I guess that's too. If Americans are like, they're Danishes, and like Austria is like, oh, they're Copenhageners.
But maybe we got it from Austria.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe we just copied Austria in what they call it.
Well, the pastry was really good.
It was really good. And the
So-
coffee was really good.
Yeah, we've had lots of really cozy 2 coffee shop days, and it's been nice. So now we're sitting actually in a hotel room in Malmo, Sweden, and
Just a short train ride away.
it was about 40 minutes on the train, and it was a cool train because you get in just the regular train, And then you go above ground out of the kind of metro subway track, and you're above ground for like 3 stops to get to the airport. And then all of a sudden you go into a tunnel that goes under the ocean, and then it comes up to a man-made island. And then from that island, they built a bridge to Sweden. And so you're just magically transported to the other country.
Can you believe
basically. So yeah, what was your favorite part before we get into Sweden? Did you have a favorite part about Copenhagen? And we were only there for less than 24 hours, which is crazy.
I think just just being very superficial and generic, the whole like vibe
Wow.
of Copenhagen.
You should use the word vibe.
I did. I use that frequently.
Was
It's not new information.
Copenhagen's aura nice?
I wouldn't use aura. That's a little too woo-woo for me. But vibe, I think, checks out.
Wow.
It was just a cozy town.
It
I
was.
think city.
It's a cozy giant capital.
Yeah, I thought that it was going to be a lot more hectic and a lot more busy. And I guess I had, after Oslo, which was kind of hectic and busy and a little grimy, I was kind of thinking, oh, Copenhagen will be kind of more of the same. But Copenhagen was actually, it felt very like airy and spacious, and like there wasn't any real green space except for the park we walked through.
But they had a lot of historic buildings, and of course the colorful buildings on the canal, like Nyenhaven, I forget how you pronounce it. It's probably the most well-known colorful building street by the water, and that like was actually really pleasant. I was afraid we'd get there and it would be just too crowded to be comfortable to walk through. And we didn't buy anything there. I'm sure that the prices are steeper because you're paying for the atmosphere. But overall, I mean, I had like a very lovely time walking around there.
Yeah, it was just a pleasant city to walk through. If I had to pick one specific thing, I would say honestly the Tivoli Gardens really surprised me. I think that I expected it to be like and I mean, I guess is another assumption I made, any other like theme park. I thought it was going to be crowded and not fun to walk through, and kind of like you were getting ripped off everywhere you went because the prices are high and you're like trapped in this park. But kind of on the flip side, it was one, maybe we just caught it on a good day. There weren't really big crowds. There was actually a bunch of room. You weren't getting jostled around. And the food was, not cheap, but it was much more affordable than I thought it would be.
It was very reasonable.
And there were a ton of options, and we only got pretzels, but we didn't have to wait in line. Like, we just walked right up. Admittedly, they weren't the best pretzels, so maybe that's why no one was waiting in line for the pretzels.
But there were other options that we passed by that also didn't have lines. So.
Yeah, that we could have gone to. So that surprised me.
I didn't know what Tivoli Gardens even was before we were going on this trip. I thought it was a garden, just a nice outdoor landscape thing. But it's actually it's one of the world's oldest amusement parks.
Maybe like top 5, top 3
one
maybe.
Source I read was like, this is the second oldest amusement park. And then another one had like other qualifiers. And anyway, it was started in 1843, and a couple other ones started in the mid-1800s. But it's up there with one of the world's oldest amusement parks. I thought you were going to say the lunch and coffee that we had at the Bog Cafe. We just left Tivoli Gardens, and now we're going to a cozy bookstore. It's described as a cozy bookstore with small plates, and it also sells coffee. So it sounds perfect.
Yes, that's true, but I was trying not to, so I thought this in my head, I didn't verbalize it. But I was trying
to fake me out?
No, I was trying not to just say cafe.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty easy for me to say. Because kind of joking, but not joking, I said what I wanted to do on this trip was just go to coffee shops and eat a lot of pastries. And we've been doing that. So that's like a pretty low-hanging fruit that we actually went to a couple of really nice cafes. And so I didn't want to pick that because that would be, I don't know. I mean, I guess if I was going to tell someone to go to Copenhagen, I probably wouldn't tell them. I would tell them to go to the Bog Cafe, but I would not tell them to go to Copenhagen just for the Bog Cafe.
Yeah, but it was a nice place, especially because it started to get a little rainy. It's called Paludan Bog Cafe, and I looked this up too. I guess I could have guessed, but Bog Cafe is book cafe, and they had a ton
Checks
of
out.
books. And they had a very generous helping of smoked salmon on the sandwiches that we ordered.
Yeah, and it was like affordable. We thought that it was going to be like a little like bite to eat, like it was maybe going to be like a little sandwich.
Well, because Google Maps is like, oh, it's a cafe with small plates. And we were like, all right, we'll pay a lot, but it'll be a good atmosphere.
Yeah, but we could have split one sandwich.
Yeah, I was
And
full
been pretty happy.
after. It was great.
I think by comparison, and maybe it's because we were so full from lunch and that lunch was so big and good,
And
the
late.
dinner was a bit of a letdown.
Oh, really?
I wasn't disappointed by the dinner, but that place had almost like 5,000 Google reviews and like 4.5 stars or something. I thought it was going to be kind of like a mind-blowing, like super cozy, cool
Well, maybe if
experience.
we liked like stewed meat more, because I think that it was more known for like really hearty meat, and isn't like very thinly pressed pork fried and breaded with potatoes is like the Danish national dish.
I don't think so.
Not the fried pork?
No, it's the herring, right? The
I
pickled
don't
herring.
think that's Denmark.
Yeah, that's a Danish thing.
Yeah, but I think the national dish is the little pork cutlets.
Ooh, I don't think so. I think
I
think you're thinking of
Google
Germany.
this. Maybe they do. They are close by.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I don't think we're really like the key palette that they're going for, because we ordered like the grilled vegetables, and she was like, okay.
Too
that
full
was a
from
mistake.
that lunch.
No, I thought it was good, but yeah, it wasn't like mind blowing. And yeah, now, so we woke up this morning and took that train, and now we're in Sweden, and we're in Malmo, which is the third largest city in Sweden.
Which is pretty surprising because we're like staying in the historic part of the city, and from here it definitely does not feel like the third largest city in the country.
Well, definitely not in the historic part, because all the buildings are small and the streets are more narrow, so
Yeah,
it feels
but
small.
I feel like in a lot of really big cities it all blends together. Like the historic district is not as separated.
Yeah, they did
Like
keep
you
it
can
pretty
still
separate.
see that it's a big city because the historic district is like just a street over
Yeah.
from like a skyscraper. But here it's a bit more of a walk away, so it feels more quaint in this
Well, I
one
guess
part of the city.
If you get out of Central Station and you walk one way, you're in the historic place, and if you walk the other way, you're in like urban Malmo with
more like
the
modern.
university and the office buildings. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice that it's like separated.
But the hotel that we're at is called the Mayfair Hotel Tunnelen. And it's pretty cool because it has this medieval history, and the cellar that we're going to eat breakfast in tomorrow, I guess, is actually from the 1300s, and it was the arches in the cellar, the whole thing was built by this Danish knight.
Yeah, a couple knights used to own it. So that'll be a fun experience I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. I liked there's this place called the Lilla Torg, I guess that's how you pronounce it, but it's the historic 16th century cobblestone square with a bunch of shops and things. We walked around that today, and it was pretty neat.
Yeah, some great souvenir shops that are not the typical trinkety souvenir shops. Like you can actually get some like good things that you'll want to give to people, and I think they'll appreciate.
We went into plenty of like trinkety keychain stores too, though.
We did, and those are everywhere. But here I noticed kind of more high quality
Well,
souvenirs.
they had ones that were like art galleries, and
Yeah.
so they were artists, and you could buy nicer, art, or you could just go to the trinket shops and buy keychains too. Both are fine, but yeah, it was nice that there were some that was more high quality art.
Annie says both are fine, but at the suggestion of it, she said, we can't do that.
Well, I didn't want to buy. We've been, when you wait to buy presents for people, and then it's suddenly like the second to last day, and you're like, okay, we really need to find some presents, because I don't want to be like in the airport going home buying someone a keychain. Like we gotta buy some quality art things here, and luckily there was a really cute
Great
shop.
places to do it. But yeah, it has been really nice walking around here. And yeah, again, like we haven't like really done, like one big thing. We just kind of walked around and enjoyed the city. We did go to the food hall, which was also very worth visiting. We had a nice little cheese plate.
Yeah, we felt very fancy. I felt very fancy. The cheese plate was more expensive than the dinner. So
It's true.
the cheese plate was like $30 for 3 kinds of cheeses, and then I got a glass of wine, and Zeb got a non-alcoholic beer, so all of that was $30. So, like, it was expensive but reasonable. I mean, I wouldn't do that every day, but it was a very nice appetizer thing. And then we ended up getting, in the food hall, they had these salad bowl things, so we each got one, and that was like $23 total, which was, I thought, very affordable.
Yeah, and then this is post-dinner when we discovered that similar to Norway with their weird alcohol laws and
This is
cutoffs.
not weird, it's just different.
It's a little weird coming from where we live. And I thought where we lived, we had some like prudish, kind of outdated laws about certain things. And here,
Well, like, in
it's
the
even
US
more restrictive that there's not just like an ABC store where you go to buy liquor. That's where you go to buy all alcohol. Like,
Yeah.
we were in a grocery store and looking and noticed it's like Utah over here, where in the grocery store all the alcohol was capped at 3.5%. So they had Heineken and they had standard beers, but if you looked at them, they were capped at 3.5% alcohol. And if you wanted to buy a standard strength beer or wine or liquor, you have to go to a special store.
Yeah, it's called Systembolaget, and apparently this started in 1955, and that's the only store in the country that's allowed to sell anything over 3.5%. So we walked all the way over there, and they had so much to choose from, like beer and wine and liquor, but it was all in one store.
And to be fair, it was cool because since I haven't been drinking alcohol, it was the most extensive non-alcohol or like alcohol-free drink selection I've
Yeah.
ever seen in a store. Like, they had...
In any country, I've never seen that much. Like,
Yeah, they had like wines, and they had, you know, like you could get Prosecco, and then they had a bunch of different beers, and they had different
Ciders.
cocktails. They even had alcohol-free,
spirits.
yeah, like, what is it, Jack Morgan, or whatever the, like,
It
the
looked
whiskey,
like whiskey
or
with
rum
these-
is.
I guess you could mix things.
Yeah, so that was really interesting. But I do think it's funny that I didn't expect the culture, or at least like the drinking culture, to be so conservative leaning in Sweden. But I guess that's my mistake because I don't really know much about Sweden. We kind of came here not really on a whim, but it was a convenient route to take. And I don't really know much about their culture, but I didn't know that it was so conservative in that way.
It was the same in Norway, but not in Denmark. So, like, in Denmark last night, I bought a wine in like a 7-Eleven, and that was fine. But then now that we crossed over, you can't get it anywhere. So,
Yeah.
and if you're not from America, or if you're from a state in America that doesn't have rules, a lot of states in America, especially in the South, you can only buy beer and wine in the grocery stores. And then if you want anything harder, you have to go to an ABC store. I don't know why it's called ABC, but there's only one store in the state where you can buy liquor. And of course they have like 9 to 5 hours or whatever. So it's, I guess
Yeah.
it's supposed to limit your ability to buy hard liquor.
I guess so, but it's funny to, then be in a place where it's
Even more strict.
even more strict than what I already thought was.
Yeah, because I had friends that were
kind of
in
strict.
other states that would make fun of North Carolina and other states in America.
Especially, coming from when we were in Japan, where you could just go into any convenience store, any grocery store, and buy like a 5-liter bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, like a gallon
Yeah,
of
like
whiskey.
you could buy so much whiskey,
Yeah.
and it was super cheap.
And very accessible.
Yeah, like anyone could, not anyone, but yeah.
Anyone of age, but yeah.
So it's funny to go from Japan, which was very liberal and free with their alcohol, but they're very strict about other things, to then go to the US, which is like comparatively a little more liberal and free with most things, but kind of strict on alcohol.
Yeah,
to
because
then,
you have to wait until you're 21 to drink it.
And in North Carolina, we have the separation. But then to come here and it's like, whoa. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the drinking age is the lowest here, 18. But yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting the way different countries handle different things.
yeah, just a
I wonder what
Interesting
their
note.
other laws are like on like gambling and prostitution and stuff like that. But
no idea. Not planning on figuring those out, but
yeah, that's true. Okay, so I looked up the national dish of Denmark, and it says it's the, well, I can't pronounce this because it's got the A and the E combined in one let her, but the sticked flesk. Anyway, fried pork with parsley gravy.
That's really interesting to me because I feel like the main thing you hear about Denmark, it's the pickled herring with the onions.
The smørrebrød.
I guess so.
I mean, I think that's probably the thing you hear about the most.
Maybe from foreigners, that's what we think about.
Actually, the smørrebrød is any open-faced sandwich.
Yeah, but then there's the whole thing about
anything on it.
It's like raw onions and the pickled herring, which we
Yeah.
did try on the boat, and it was really good.
Yeah, better than I expected. I feel like a lot of Japanese people would enjoy it because it was a fish thing and pickled, but it still is not something I'd pick to eat for breakfast. But it was
really?
Not for breakfast. Also, it was the pickled kind that they used was like bread and butter pickles in America.
Yeah, so it was like sweet.
Yeah. I like dill pickles where they're more vinegary and salty and not sweet. So I think I would like the pickled herring if it was dill pickles and not... I don't like mixing sugar and vinegar.
Well, you're missing out.
Yeah, apparently.
You like kombucha.
Yeah, that's true.
Sweet vinegar.
So anyway, tomorrow we'll be on the final day of our trip.
Yeah, almost there. Just up to Gothenburg, New Year's Eve, flying home.
Mm-hmm.
So that last recording was us still in Europe. Unfortunately or fortunately, we're not in Europe anymore. We're sitting on our couch in our house in North Carolina.
Yeah, we didn't record on the very last day as like a debrief. But now we're here and we're going to tell you what we did on the last day of the trip and how we got back. So we that next morning after we last talked to you, we had probably the best breakfast I've ever had, which is, I don't know, maybe that's dramatic to say. I don't know about ever. Ever in my recent memory, which isn't very good, but it was a really good breakfast. And part of it was because of the atmosphere and part of it was because of the food. So do you want to discuss why the atmosphere was cool?
Well, it was just in the cellar, or I guess basement, of that fancy, I would say fancy hotel, even though like it wasn't expensive. It was pretty affordable.
Well, we talked about how the history was kind of cool.
Yeah, it had really cool history, which made it feel fancy.
Did we say it has one of the largest private modern art collections?
No, because I didn't know that until the breakfast. It has, sometimes it almost felt a little like over the top, kind of like funny, because literally everywhere you looked, there would be some like historic anecdote like pinned to the wall. Or we sat down at breakfast and there was like a history fact sheet that was like, did you know? And then it had like a million facts. So it was very cool and very historic. Yeah. But sometimes it was a little in your face.
Oh, you think so? I just thought, I liked how it was this very old hotel where you could feel like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, but then also there was very modern art also on the wall. And so I thought it was kind of interesting. Like it would be art where it's so modern that my initial reaction is like, that's so ugly, who put that there? But then it's just because I'm not like cultured enough to understand the like modern art.
But the cool part about it was the breakfast was in, I guess, the oldest part of the hotel.
The cellar.
So it was in the basement or the cellar.
It dates back to 1307.
Yeah. And it was established by one of the knights that used to own the land or something connected to the hotel. So you went down all these like spiral stairs into the basement, and there was, like tables set out, and there was a buffet breakfast, and it was a very cool atmosphere and very pretty. And then it helped that the breakfast buffet itself was like a bunch of cheese and like smoked fish and different breads. So
it was really nice. They had like a yogurt bar section. And they also had a chef that was in the room where you get the food. So the food was not just like, oh, we heated up some eggs from a carton. It was...
Yeah, they're like real eggs, and the eggs already had cheese in them.
They had a waffle corner where you could make your own waffles.
They did have a waffle corner, which was a bit contentious, because we were thankfully there early enough that we could use it, but the waffle maker took a really long time.
Yeah,
and so at one point,
waffles.
It wasn't really a dispute, but there was a discussion occurring about...
Not a dispute.
There was. There was a discussion taking place about whether or not the person was using the waffle maker right, because it was taking a really long time.
Oh.
And so they were kind of like having a back and forth, and it would make 4 mini waffles at once. And the ultimatum was they decided to share. So they each
Very
took 2,
nice.
and then they put another batch in. When that batch was done, they each took 2 again. So
See, they figured it out.
it was just really funny because we were sitting like right next to the waffle corner. So while I was eating breakfast, during the second half of my breakfast, I was overhearing this waffle situation going on.
But the cellar had these arched ceilings, which was cool. And did you know it used to be used, it began as an inn in 1570?
I did, because I read the fact sheet.
Yeah. And did you know that Denmark's worst trader of all time, Corfitz Ulfed, he was the governor of Skane, and his wife lived there in the 17th century.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
So we really liked the hotel. We really liked Malmo overall. It was like a very worthy place to visit. It was very nice to see it. But then we walked over to the station after our delicious breakfast. And thankfully it was only like a 5-minute walk to get to the station. And then we hopped on a nice little train.
Yeah, which I didn't know that you could buy train tickets from 7-Elevens. Kind of like Japan. You can do a lot of convenient stuff at the convenience stores.
So you could, but you couldn't buy the tickets that we wanted.
No,
so we
you
did
could
buy
buy
ours online.
We bought them online, but I didn't know we could have bought them at the station. They just only have a certain amount of physical tickets.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Here's the ones I have."
Yeah, like let me check my inventory.
Which is so
tickets.
funny to me. I just never, the train ticket helper I was asking her for help and she was like, "Well, why don't you go check the 7-Eleven?" And I was like, "For tickets?"
Yeah.
So anyway, you can get them there.
We got our tickets and we took Sweden's version of the high-speed train, which went up to, I think the highest speed I saw was 201 kilometers an hour on the little screen that was popping up.
Speedy.
Yeah, and it was very nice. It was maybe not as luxurious as like the Japanese Shinkansen.
That's about 125 miles per hour.
Yeah. But it was still very fast. It was very nice. And it got us to Gothenburg.
Yeah, and it was raining, so it was very cozy in the train and everything. And then the hotel we were staying at was actually in Gothenburg station, so we didn't even have to get out in the rain. Well, we did actually.
It was in the station, but the main entrance was like you had to go out the door and then through another door.
That's only because we came up the stairs too soon. We should have like kept walking and then gone up the stairs that take you inside the station. Next time we go, we'll know. But anyway, the hotel, I think it was like noon, but we went up to ask if we could keep our bags there at the lobby, and they were like, "Actually, your room's ready, you can check in," which was a great surprise. Loved that.
Loved it.
And then the rain turned to snow, so that was fun.
It was
walked
fun.
Around. It was kind of a slushy snow though. Like, it was kind of wet.
Yeah, but it was nice to have like, because we didn't really have anything to do in Gothenburg. It was kind of, we were flying out super early the next morning. So we didn't really have like an agenda. We had like a few things we wanted to see. So first order of business after we checked in, we went and got a coffee, which was very nice. Kind of at a generic cafe with awful like tropical.
Yeah, they had elevator music. It
like
was
if you know the band Kygo, it was like Kygo, which is bad because I kind of like some of Kygo's music, but also it was a little bit like, okay, like what are we doing?
Maybe in Sweden that's like the hits, but yeah, it was a little bit distracting, but that's the only complaint I had about that cafe. Otherwise, the coffee was very good.
It was good.
The Danish, I guess they're not danishes, the like sweet bread treats we got were mediocre, but so I was excited because what was the bread that I got? It was like a saffron bun.
Yeah, that was like a big wintertime like pastry.
I'm going to have to get it again and try it because it didn't really have much of a flavor, so I was not super impressed by it, but it's very popular, so it must be good. So anyway,
we just got a bad one. But we had some really good coffee, and then we went and walked around the city.
Yeah, and Gothenburg, one of the like top things to do there is visit the botanical gardens. It has a very long name in Swedish that I'm not really able to pronounce properly.
It's like the Garden Society.
Yeah, the Garden Society, I think, is just one greenhouse within that whole thing.
Oh.
But we went in because it was open, and that was nice, and it was snowing at this point. And we went all the way to the greenhouse and then learned that it was closed on New Year's Eve.
Well, the palm house was closed.
Yeah.
Which is just a greenhouse with huge palm trees.
But you should look up the pictures because it's this huge, I mean, it is a glass house. I don't know. I guess that's what a greenhouse is.
It's a big greenhouse.
It was just very pretty.
It was cool.
And because of the snow it was white all around it, and then the greenhouse is white, and then inside it just was very like magical looking. But we couldn't go inside, but that's all right because it looked nice from the outside. And the other thing I liked is the central station at night. It was all lit up, and they had these really interesting lights with. Do you remember they had like a see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil people up on the top, and
they were like on
lanterns.
top of these pillars.
It was an interesting piece of art, like functional art.
And I think it was the hotel that had the ribbon lit up. It was a really nice day to like just walk around the city, even though by the time we were getting done, I wasn't too cold, but I could tell I was getting like wet, and I was about to be cold because we've been walking around in the snow for a while.
It was New Year's Eve, and I think we were just tired and wanted to have kind of a cozy night, so we just got some food and went back up to the room. Yeah,
we went to a 7-Eleven again, which it is a good time to mention that the 7-Elevens, I almost like the European 7-Elevens more than the Japanese 7-Elevens.
What?
I liked the food in there more because they had really good sandwiches, but we got like those wraps that were really good. And you can also get soups.
And it's kind of like in Japan. I guess it's like, do you like rice or bread more? Because Japan has all that same stuff, but rice-based. Like onigiri instead of wraps and rice
the cheese
bowls.
Was way better.
Well, they had cheese, yeah.
They had really good cheese.
I still really I prefer onigiri and a lot of the Japan foods. But I did like...
Over like a smoked salmon and cheese sandwich.
I mean, I didn't think that the 7-Eleven was particularly like mind-blowing. What I liked about Sweden was that they had all these salad bars everywhere. Like, there were so many options for where you could get a hearty, like, a salad meal where it's not just some iceberg lettuce and, like, a couple tomatoes and cucumbers. They would have, like, protein and different kinds of lettuce or different kinds of greenery and all kinds of toppings. And it wasn't just, like, one store that was super expensive. There were multiple affordable options. So I would like to have more of those options here.
Well, we have the Ingles salad bar.
Yeah, one option.
Perfect. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just kind of had like an early, cozy night in just because...
Oh, one thing...
Yeah, we wanted to relax.
That the 7-Elevens in Sweden have is a...
the candy wall?
Yes. Like by the gram, I guess, candy. And so we did utilize that on New Year's night. We got wild at the candy bar.
I don't know if you took a picture of it, but in my head, it's like 30 different kinds of candies.
Least.
It's a lot. Like,
I stood there for a while until I eventually just like took 3 pieces of like almost every single one on the wall. Because they had gummies and they didn't have any chocolate actually. Because I would have gotten chocolate. And they were all gummies, which is kind of interesting. Like licorice gummies, like soft gummies and hard gummies. I don't know if there's a difference. And like taffies. But yeah, no chocolate. And I have to say I can't eat salty licorice. I tried. And
it's like an experience, and it's one of the things, I've said this about other things during this trip, that's like one is plenty.
Yeah.
Like I would eat one, and then no thank you, I don't need it anymore.
There's very few things that I can like hardly even eat it, but that was like one that I almost had to spit out because it almost gave me the like gag reflex that happens when you like drink something that's too salty. Or eat something that's just like too much salt and your body is just kind of like, ugh, like that is so much salt.
Yeah.
And it also, when I breathed in with my mouth open, it smelled or tasted like very strong like cat ammonia.
Oh,
like
really?
urine. To me, it just had this like chemical taste smell, which I think is off because people wouldn't eat it if they had that. So maybe I'm just like, have some weird olfactory senses, but
maybe
I couldn't really tolerate it. I can understand why people would want it because it does sound kind of, it's like the super sour candies where it's like you eat it and it's like initially gross but then you want more.
Yeah.
Like when you give a baby a lemon or something and they're like ooh, and then they want more. But I just couldn't eat the salty licorice.
Yeah, but it was really good, and we did learn, although I guess we didn't technically try it, apparently the norm is you get salty licorice and then a raspberry candy, and you eat them together. So maybe we were missing the raspberry candy to offset
balance it out.
the saltiness of the licorice. But yeah, that's kind of how we spent our last evening in Europe, and then we woke up pretty early, although honestly not crazy early the next day, and we got on a bus, and it was kind of a funny journey to get on the bus. One, it was like really nice because our hotel was right next to the bus station, but you could see kind of the aftermath of New Year's Eve.
There was a lot of people that had been partying
A lot of
all
people.
night.
And it was one of the moments when seeing them made me feel so much better about having like a cozy night in, because there were kind of people like sleeping in weird places in the station. There was one poor guy that like he could not stop hiccuping, and I think he was also waiting on a bus, but it looked like he was going to be there a while. There was a lot of people that looked really rough, and I felt really bad for them. And hopefully right now they're all somewhere cozy and relaxing.
But they were all still like in their like clubbing clothes and
even once we finally got on the bus and we were like taking it through the city, it was like 4 a.m. 4:30.
By the time we got on the bus, it was 4:50 or 5.
Okay, so almost 5 a.m. and it was like raining pretty hard. And as we were taking the bus, there were like girls in like short skirts and dresses like running through the rain. And
I felt so bad for them.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to make it home after a long night, and we were like just waking up.
Because at that point it's like, dang, like.
I mean, it was New Year's, so it wasn't just some Tuesday night, but still I was like so glad that.
I was like cozy on the bus,
hungover.
like watching them like struggling.
Hopefully it was a fun and worth it night for them, so.
I hope so. Started out their new year right. But we got to the airport, and then we even got there. We were so early that the customs guys were kind of making fun of it. They were like, a bit early, don't you think? And then,
I thought he was just making conversation. I was like, yeah, it's pretty early.
and then he was like, no, we only check people in an hour and a half before their flights. So
they
you
didn't
need to go sit down.
let you physically into the international gate. Like we had already made it through airport security, and we were in the airport terminal, like trying to walk to our gate. Mm-hmm. We like had our boarding pass and everything, and they have customs at the gates, so like probably 5 gates that have international flights. You go through customs there before you even get on the plane, which is different than I've ever done before. But they were kind of like, you can't enter.
They're like, you gotta sit down. So we sat down, had a coffee, and then and that was
the
pretty
rest
much
of the
it.
trip was thankfully unremarkable.
Yeah.
And now we're back.
We made it home, and now we're sitting on a couch with a bunch of cats and enjoying our.
I feel like I didn't mention like memories with my family enough though, because the whole trip was mostly a family trip, and then it's kind of funny because we started the podcast being like, wow, family time, and then like 5 minutes into it we're like, okay, we're halfway done with the trip, and we didn't record anything with my family. But it was nice to be really in the moment with them, and so I'm gonna rapid fire some cozy memories with everybody from my family. I'm gonna go through starting with Lucy, who's my sister right below me. One of the things that I enjoyed doing with her was we went thrift shopping, and I would not have done that otherwise. Like, I like thrift shopping, but I wouldn't have gone into that thrift store, And I'm glad that I did, because I got a really nice sweater that I liked and a hat. So that was fun. She's very into clothes. And then her husband, Daniel, we didn't eat ramen with them, but I learned that he really likes ramen. So next time we see him, I'll know that we can eat ramen with him.
Take him some Instant Cup.
Yeah.
Some top ramen.
So there was a ramen shop that was across from the Airbnb we were staying in, and we split off from the family to get on the ferry, but that night they ate ramen. And so he likes ramen and he likes coffee, and I like both those things. But next time we'll do that. And then my other sister, Mare, she took a lot of really good photos, and that was fun to see her like kind of in her element. She likes photography. And on the ferry, the fun ferry, the short ferry that was Scenic, she I don't think she left the roof of the ferry the whole time, except for maybe like the last 20 minutes. And it was funny because everybody else would go up, and then it would, you're in winter moving, and so it's cold and windy, and so it's pretty and you want to be up there, and then you kind of have to like get some respite and go back down and like let your cheeks thaw out. But it was funny because she stayed up there in her parka like the whole time and was like, this is amazing. So that was fun. So her and I and my other sister Danielle were up there on the ferry rooftop for a little while, and I also got to sit with Danielle on the train car. That was fun. And I have a picture of you guys eating your sandwiches looking out the window.
Just enjoying some good scenery.
It's cozy.
It's a nice train.
And my other sister, Jazzy, she was in the train car with us too, so that was fun. And when we were at the Mossy playground, it was fun to watch her like do the zip line thing and the playground stuff that I don't know that we would have gone like on the playground equipment if my younger sisters hadn't been there.
Really?
So that was kind of fun. I don't know. I probably would have just like walked around and been like, oh, fun. Like, look at this playground.
Boring.
Would you?
I probably would have gotten in there. I'm a playground kind of guy.
Well, we never know.
We've gotten on swings before and shrines and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like swings. They didn't have any swings at that specific playground.
Missed opportunity.
On the train, it was fun to look out the window with my dad because he was looking out the window the whole time, but not the window where you like sit and you're looking out the window, the one where you like stand and it's like the full body window.
Yeah.
And he was looking at it and it was funny because he kept getting his phone out and being like, look at that water, look at that mountain, look at that tree.
Yeah, then your mom and I were sitting in the car and your mom was like, wow, Yates is really giving him the play-by-play.
Like he'd be like, look at that mountain, and then we'd pass because the train's moving pretty quick, and then there'd be a river that goes by, and he's like, dang, I missed it. He's like, did you see that river? And then it was fun to have a bunch of food with my mom because that was one of the things that I missed in Japan was her cooking and also just like eating with her. So we did cook actually while we were on this trip, and so that was nice. But it was also really fun that we got to go to restaurants, and then she didn't have to cook or anything, and we could just all eat together, and it was cozy.
Yeah, it looks like they had a great time in Iceland. So when we split off, then they ended up going to Iceland, and we continued to Denmark and Sweden.
They saw the Northern Lights.
Yeah, it looked really
Jealous
nice.
of that.
Wow. Yeah, I've seen them before, so it was,
Yeah. Well, actually. No, it was a good trip.
Yeah, it was really nice. But it's kind of fun that now we kind of have the opportunity to like settle in and be cozy. Just in general, because
We don't have anything planned.
yeah, in Japan it was just us, and we like traveled a lot. We went to a lot of places in Japan and really did a lot, and I'm super thankful for that opportunity. And
sometimes
then
I feel like I couldn't slow down in Japan because I was like, I don't know how long I'll be able to live here. Like,
it was
what
kind
a
of
privilege. I need to like run around as fast as I can to see everything I possibly can.
And there was a lot to see. And for us, because we were only there for 2 years, it was continually felt new for the most part. And I mean, now like going to Europe, of course, was like very fun, but it is really nice to be back. And now we can kind of settle into our routines and just kind of be, I guess, try to be present, like where we currently are, because we don't actually have plans to
travel.
Yeah, I mean, we have plans to do some bike races, which will involve travel to places as exotic as Indiana and potentially maybe Minnesota.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a little field trip episode on what riding through the cornfields in Indiana's like.
Yeah, might even go to Alabama in February. But
yeah,
we don't have plans for like international travel or anything that's like too taxing. We're kind of just going to be here.
There's a lot of bucket list trips and things that I have. But yeah, and like I'm not done with travel, but for now, it's nice to just take a breather.
It's nice to just be able to focus on like where we are and just be here. And I think for a lot of people, maybe that would sound like really boring because I don't know, a lot of people are, they want to travel and travel is like totally worth it and nice to do. But we've really traveled a lot over the past, like, I don't know, as long as we've known each other. And so it's nice to have the opportunity.
We've really traveled a lot.
Yeah.
That makes it seem like, well, we're just done with that. I don't know.
No, I'm not saying we're done with that. I'm just excited for the opportunity to kind of be here.
Yeah. No, it's nice to be cozy.
But yeah, maybe we'll make another podcast about going to Alabama or Indiana.
So I guess that's like a transition into, we're dropping this little surprise podcast episode in because we thought it would be fun, but we don't really have any plans to keep the podcast going with any sort of regularity.
Yeah, because honestly, like I was just saying, we're not really doing anything too exciting.
But it's fun to pop in occasionally with this kind of stuff. Hopefully this wasn't too chaotic to listen to. But yeah, you can always email us, ramblingramsbottoms@gmail.com if you have...
And it is fun because we still do regularly get emails about questions about Japan.
Yeah, specifically like bike travel in Japan.
And someone today emailed us about bears. in Japan. And unfortunately, they did mention it'd be nice to get out on a ride with us. But I guess they don't know that we're not, we're not living there anymore.
Well.
But if you have any questions about North Carolina or the United States.
Or if you have any suggestions for things you'd want us to talk about in the future. Because I do like chatting. But I don't want people to be like, wow, they're back. Because we're not really back. But we will, if you subscribe, I guess, to our feed. I don't know how that works. If you hit the little plus button, I think, then anytime we do drop a little episode in, you'll get it in your feed.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
one day we'll be back.
thanks for coming along so far, and hopefully it won't be too long before we're talking to you again. But yeah, we'll catch you guys later.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for listening. Bye.